Yeah. So you moved quite a bit?
We did.
So how many times did you move while you were growing up? Roughly.
Maybe 20.
Wow.
20. I think I was at 8 or 9 schools with a stint of homeschooling.
Was it in Chattanooga?
Yeah.
Okay. What
It
was it about Chattanooga that attracted you to it?
it was just beautiful. It was different. I've lived all over the place, and I've never lived anywhere like Chattanooga.
Mhm.
It's it's not better, it's just different. One thing that differentiates us. Um, I I think it is that the time that you're going to get both of our full attention in those lanes. So I just feel like people get extra with us.
Yeah.
It's almost like, 1 plus 1 equals 3. There's lots of stories. Especially during COVID, we really had to step up our game,
Yeah.
and everybody did.
Yeah. No
Um,
kidding. Like
buyers did,
we
agents
couldn't
did.
show houses,
Oh, right, and
right?
you had a line down the block, and so you
Yeah.
couldn't show it, but you had a line down the block, for somebody to see it, and, 50 offers.
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using NuCalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to NuCalm.com, Mike15 promo code. NuCalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Alysha Tinsley, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So, with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today, and then we want to talk about the amazing things that you and your partner, Rebecca, are doing to help people with real estate. Thanks for being here.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me.
So, where were you born?
I was born in a little town called Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Did you grow up there?
I did not.
So where's
Uh,
Carlisle, Pennsylvania for people that don't know, roughly?
it's close to Harrisburg. That's probably
Okay.
the closest city. Honestly, couldn't tell you much about it. We moved around quite a lot growing up, so didn't spend much time there.
Yeah. So you moved quite a bit?
We did.
So
Yeah.
how many times did you move while you were growing up? Roughly.
I maybe 20. 15,
Wow.
20. I think I was at 8 or 9 schools with a stint of homeschooling by the time I got to high school.
Oh my goodness.
All
Wow.
over the
So
place.
where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay. That's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful
nice.
people.
Yeah, it is beautiful people. I don't know about a beautiful place, but it does have beautiful people.
It has its moments. I've spent some time in Amarillo only because it's on
Oh,
I-40, right?
okay.
Right? I've eaten at the Big Texan,
Okay, so you know
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
It's
people I talk to have only passed through, but it
some
is. It
of
has the canyons, that's
yeah.
what people don't see, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's some of the coolest people in the world live in Amarillo, Texas. All right. So in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
History. Yeah, I can't say that I had anything I was too particularly crazy about. Maybe history.
History, yeah.
So
Did you have a favorite teacher?
I had a lot of wonderful teachers.
Mhm.
So I can't name one. But
But they had a positive impact on your life?
yeah, I definitely had a lot of great teachers that had a positive impact.
Amazing how that happens, right?
It is. They're hard workers.
So, did you play any sports in high school?
No, I was definitely more of the bookworm type,
It's okay.
academic.
So after you graduated from high school in Amarillo, where did you go from there?
I did get an associate's degree in drafting from Amarillo College. And then I spent some time at Texas Tech in their
Hmm.
School of Architecture before I moved to California.
Yeah. So you're a Red Raider.
I was.
Once a
I
Red
was.
Raider, always a Red Raider.
Yeah.
We play Texas, or used to play Texas Tech every year because they were in the
Oh,
Big 12. I'm
oh
an
yeah.
Oklahoma
You watch
Sooners fan.
football.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm an
yeah.
Oklahoma Sooners fan. So yeah, right. So so you end up moving to California. What makes you move to California?
I had family out there. So
So growing up, what was your favorite thing about growing up in all these different places where you grew up?
mm, I don't know if I thought much about it at the time, but in hindsight, I think um yeah, I think it gave me a lot of great experience. I
Yeah.
think it made me maybe a little more adventurous.
Hmm.
I've never felt like I had to be nailed down to one spot. And I don't know, we lived in a lot of cool places, from old farmhouses to
Hmm.
an old movie theater. We we had an interesting time of it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Hmm, that's a tough one. Um, maybe my sisters, my grandparents, my dad, some of my family.
That's cool. Why did you pick drafting to get your associate's degree?
Yeah, I was always interested as far back as I can remember in drafting and architecture.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, really, since I was a kid, I think at one point, drawing a picture of a house, my mother had said, "You should be an architect when you grow up," and it just stuck with me.
Yeah. So you kind of always had an interest in real estate.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. So you moved to California. You're out here with family, right? Where do you go after that?
I, well, after that, I went to Tennessee,
Really?
which
So
is
you're
where,
out here for how long were you out here?
um, I guess about 11 years.
Okay.
So I lived in California full time for about 11 years. And
What'd you
then
do in California?
Real estate
Yeah.
and pretty much all of my time spent in California after college was in real estate.
Oh,
I
cool.
moved to California, got my real estate license, started out working with a private equity firm kind of after, the market started coming back
Hmm.
and just with institutional investors. And then started a more traditional real estate career. And uh, I mean, truly, it's been the only career I've ever really had beyond school.
So did a private equity firm invest in single family homes?
Yeah, yeah, single family properties. I mean, from San Diego, Orange County, Riverside, I even Sacramento was one of my territories.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
all over California, single family homes, institutional investors buying them up for buy hold assets, and flips.
Okay. So they'd buy them and they weren't necessarily in the best of shape, right? And then they'd fix them up and either hold on to them or they would resell them.
That's right. They had a few different departments. Most of the homes were purchased at auction. I was
Mhm.
part of an internal MLS department where we actually did pretty traditional transactions that were properties listed on the MLS.
Gotcha. Okay. So after 11 years here, you end up going to Tennessee. What made you go to Tennessee?
It was completely unplanned. It's funny because Rebecca and I had listed a home in Oceanside for a
Hmm.
friend of ours, and they were moving to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hmm.
And I just remember saying, Chattanooga, Tennessee, like these guys are going to the sticks. Where is Chattanooga, Tennessee? And I guess about a year later, my husband and I went out to visit during the fall. It kind of got put on our radar. So we
Mhm.
started to look at investment property. And just throughout all of our research, we just decided we don't want to just buy an investment property. We want to buy a home for ourselves. So we kind of went from we're looking for an investment property to a second home to a primary residence.
Wow.
And it
So
was
did
not
you
planned.
so what was it that made you decide to buy a primary residence in Chattanooga? Was it in Chattanooga?
Yeah,
Okay. What
it
was it about Chattanooga that attracted you to it?
it was just beautiful. It was different. I've lived all over the place and I've never lived anywhere like Chattanooga.
Mhm.
It's it's not better, it's just different.
Okay.
Trees and lakes and rivers, and it was just gorgeous. And the seasons, my husband's born and raised in California. He was born in Oceanside, and has his family home there of over 50 years.
Mhm.
And he liked the idea of doing something different, and we just decided to go for it.
Wow, that's cool. So what was your favorite thing about moving to Chattanooga?
Just a different environment. It just the beauty. We went from condo living, which now that I have 3 bathrooms I have to clean, I kind of miss condo living, but just kind of we went from a very urban, setting,
Yeah.
condo living in the city to, having a house with a yard. And I mean, it's raining outside right now, and it's just different. It was something new.
So how long have you been in Chattanooga?
Uh, about 3 years now.
So are you enjoying the seasons, and is it a slower pace of life?
It's in some ways it's slower and in some
Mhm.
ways it's not.
Okay.
My day to day can be slower because
Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called NuCalm.com, and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with NuCalm.com. Go to NuCalm.com today, promo code Mike15. NuCalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off.
I'm just behind the desk where I
Mhm.
used to be out showing properties and doing open houses and things like that.
Yeah.
But now I have a lot more travel
Hmm.
because I travel back and forth to California quite a lot.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know if I can actually say it's been slower.
So how much time do you spend here versus there?
It can vary quite a lot. It can be months that I've spent in California. Several months I've come out and spent several months at a time, like an entire season. And, sometimes I'll just come out for a week to 3 weeks. So
Just depending upon what's needed, right?
it really does. Yeah.
That's cool. So working in Chattanooga and in San Diego, what's the number one thing that you've learned doing that?
I don't actually work in Chattanooga. I work strictly remotely when I'm in Tennessee.
Mhm.
So I don't actually have a license in Tennessee. I don't have a real estate license. I don't practice real estate out here. In some ways I like that,
Yeah.
but so that was something kind of unique. I can go out to the store wearing sweats and I don't have to worry about running into one of my clients or something like that.
Yeah. So when we interviewed Rebecca, she mentioned that you are sort of her counterbalance,
Right.
right? And what she mentioned was that she is kind of more people oriented, more people focused and more general in nature, and you're more specific. Like you're somebody that looks at things sort of more detail oriented. Would you talk about that for a second? Because it's a real strength that you bring to your partnership.
Mhm. Definitely. Rebecca and I are like opposite sides of the same coin. We have a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same values, but we have completely opposite personality, and it works out really well for our business. We've been partners for over 5 years. And yeah, she's definitely very dynamic. She's a networker. I mean, you just, if you meet her, you just love her. Whereas I am, perhaps a little bit more introverted, but
Mhm.
I focus more on the contracts, the marketing. Um, I mean, that's one reason that I was able to, uh, start working more remotely, because that was already my lane.
Gotcha.
So definitely, I've always been a little bit more behind the scenes, and I don't have as much interest in, Rebecca will go and, she'll do the video shoots and,
Mhm.
market the properties, and she'll do the open houses, and, she just has a way of drawing people in, and it's not my talent. It's not my wheelhouse, whereas she really just doesn't have as much interest in the contracts and the details, and um, you know, we can both do anything,
Mhm.
but definitely where our interest and our talents lie are in those separate lanes.
Yeah, it sounds like you complement each other really well.
Yeah, I
Like you're
think so.
really good partners. You're a good team.
Hmm.
So if somebody's considering hiring you and Rebecca to buy a house, what's the one thing that you feel like sets you two apart from the rest of, let's say, the realtor population?
Hmm. Well, it, in a matter of speaking, we can be two places at the same time.
Hmm.
So we do work as a team, because I um, am often in the Eastern time zone. We always tell people, you can call me as early as you want to.
Hmm.
And you can call Rebecca as late as you want to, and it's funny because even when I am in California, I've always been more of an early bird than her.
Hmm.
So, we're accessible, and we do have our own strengths, and we're very passionate about what we do. We care about our clients, and I think, to have somebody like Rebecca, as I mentioned earlier, if you meet her, you'll just love her.
Yeah.
And you want somebody like that representing your home. You want somebody who just has a way of drawing people in, who gets people's attention, who can sell your home.
Hmm.
If you have a buyer's agent coming to your home with their buyer, you're not going to have to worry about that buyer's agent wandering around on their cell phone while, the buyer wanders around. She's going to be selling it. And um, and I do love my contracts. I'm very detail oriented.
Hmm.
We pay a lot of attention for our clients. We're very thoughtful about
Yeah,
what they
she
have.
mentioned in our interview that you catch a lot of things that she doesn't catch. And you look at things, sort of your worldview is different than hers, right? And
Mhm.
so, she's like, thank goodness for Alicia, right? So, I mean, I interviewed Rebecca and I love her. She's amazing, right? Um, and I was super, super excited to meet the other side of this dynamic duo because she bragged about you a lot. She values you a ton. So if I'm a seller and I'm thinking about hiring you two, your team, what's the one thing that you feel like differentiates you from the rest of the competition?
The one thing that differentiates us. I think it is that the time that you're going to get both of our full attention in those lanes. So I just feel like people get extra with us.
Yeah.
It's almost like, 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
I feel like with the way we operate our team and I mean, just we always talk about, Rebecca refers to it as stacking pennies, or I say, leave no stone unturned.
Mhm.
It might not be one little thing that makes the difference, but there's a compounding effect
Oh,
that comes
absolutely.
from all the little details, from the marketing to the presentation to showing up. I mean, just, Rebecca, she shows up to that appraisal. If she can, she will show up to that house. She won't just give out that lockbox code. So we stack those pennies and we have found it to be a differentiator.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie once said 85% of success is just showing up. I think it's 100%.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world where everybody's so detached because of technology and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I feel like it's a big deal, and that's one of the reasons we met Rebecca at that demo that we were talking about, and the energy in there was just amazing. And it was the first time I'd ever done a podcast interview in front of a group of people. Right, there were 12 people in that room, including Rebecca, and she was a big part of the energy that was brought there. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about how people love her.
Oh, yeah.
It's that energy, right? It's that way of making things work, and the way that she is so sort of into people. So if
Mhm.
you wouldn't mind, is there a story that comes to mind where the two of you made 1 + 1 = 3 that you'd like to share?
Mhm. I feel like there's lots of stories. Especially during COVID, we really had to step up our game,
Yeah.
and everybody did.
Yeah. No
Um,
kidding. Like
buyers
we
did,
couldn't we
agents
couldn't
did.
show houses,
Oh, right, and
right?
you had a line down the block, so you
Yeah.
could show up. You had a line down the block, for somebody to see it, and 50 offers, and so we did get connected with a um, kind of a bridge program.
Mhm.
It was a San Diego-based bridge program, a company. We were actually the only agents in San Diego County that were certified with this program.
Wow.
And, we were able to help a family sell their home and buy another home in this crazy market,
Yeah.
and one thing they told us was the reason we went with you is because you were outside the box, and it was a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Uh, was running multiple transactions at the same time, and of course, back then everything was super tightened timelines,
Mhm.
and I was basically running these transactions and getting certified by this program, and meanwhile Rebecca's there meeting all the inspectors and doing everything in the 7-day timeline, and we really hustled and we made it happen for this family. But I feel like that's just one example of so
Yeah.
many.
Well, it was crazy, right? COVID was something that came completely out of left field. And for the
Mhm.
longest time, we couldn't even show property. I mean, everything was like video showings and all that kind of stuff, right? And you couldn't get in a seller's property unless you were vaccinated, right? If the seller was there. And there were times that the seller had to go down the block, and then you had to sign disclosures and all that kind of stuff just to enter the property. You had to go in, and then you had to basically glove up and sanitizers and all kinds of crazy stuff, masks, all that. I mean, it was almost like going into surgery, trying to go in and do a video, you know, tour of a house so that you could show it to a buyer that wasn't allowed to see the house. I mean, it was crazy. It was absolutely just a nutty time. And I know you guys stepped up, and I know that you were able to serve your clients in a way that almost nobody else was able to do, simply because of your commitment to the industry and your commitment to your clients. And it's really, it says a lot about your commitment, your passion, and your partnership. The team that you guys have formed, and how you really complement each other incredibly. So I'm incredibly thankful that you were our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Is there anything you'd like to cover before we wrap up?
Oh, I just appreciate your kind words. I definitely think we grew as a team during that time, and it really did permanently change the industry.
Yeah.
And I think that we just started coming to the table with new ideas, and two heads are always better than one.
Yeah.
And, we're doing it today. When we get off this call, we'll be getting on a call for another transaction that was just kind of a miracle situation for our clients. And I think that COVID really started a lot of out of the box thinking for our team. And so yeah, I appreciate it. We love what we do.
Yeah. You can tell. You can tell. I hope you have an amazing day today. Thank you again for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Alysha. Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called NuCalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. NuCalm.com. And the promo code is Mike15. NuCalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.